An airline can figure out or determine through the algorithm how many times you travel to a specific destination. From there, they're going to extrapolate the assumption that that destination is important to you. And so therefore, if that destination is important to you, then how important to you is it? Might you pay a little more the next time to get to that destination? What if it's a place like, say, in Florida or some other place where you've got a property down there and you winter down there? Back in the days when we used to get along with the Americans. What about that? So they figure out that you fly there so often, maybe you jet back and forth. I don't know what the situation is. I'm making it up on the fly here. But if they figure out you go to a certain place often enough, they're going to determine that that place is important to you and they're going to jack up the seat price on their plane. That's what happens, especially down in the States. Hotels do it all the time. You know, I think all of us have gone shopping for hotels, and we go to places like Trivago or the other ones there where you can shop and you can see that, you know, like this hotel is offering this room for this much money, but then over on this other site, they're offering the very same room, but it's a different amount of money. Now, that's not exactly the same thing, but it's very similar. It's almost like that shell game, right? Where that guy moves the shells around and there's a P under one of them, except, damn it, in this game, there's no P, right? Anyways, this is the kind of things, you know, the umbrellas, the airlines, the whatever. If they figure you need something, if they could find out that you had a sick child and they happen to have whatever it was that would make your sick child well again, you're not going to pay the regular price for that. You're going to pay a premium price for that simply because they know you need it. Yeah, it's just the ultimate high point in human behavior. It's the stuff that makes God proud of us. You know, he just smiles every time he sees us doing this to one another. Anyways, what can you do about it? Well, you know what? Not much. Data has been harvested for many years now. You know, having a phone is something that almost all of us have. Some of us, many of us, most of us have phones, and then we back that up with laptops or computers and tablets, and the rest of us, and some of us watches, that sort of thing. We've been leaking data. We've been shedding data for years. So, you know, it's kind of tough to get that genie back in the bottle because it's already out and it's been out for a long time. So we'd never even find the genie to get it back in the bottle, assuming that we wanted to do that. And really, you know, I'm just a little guy. These are huge corporations. There's nothing I can do with these people. The only people who can do anything about this practice is government, right? And so government's got a lot on their plate, of course, and maybe they're asleep to this issue, and maybe that's why Avi Lewis is bringing it to their attention, because he feels that the federal government should do something about this and ban the practice before it takes hold here in Canada the way that it has down south in the United States. In fact, Wab Kinew, the premier of Manitoba, has banned surveillance pricing in the province of Manitoba. So we have at least one jurisdiction here in Canada that has taken proactive action to protect its citizens from this practice. But you can do other things too. I mean, yeah, the genie's out of the bottle and there's not much you can do about that, but there's a couple of things that you can do. Number one, you can browse privately. And by that, what I mean is that you can use the incognito feature on your device to browse anonymously, I suppose, because that's one of the ways that they get you is like when you're browsing their site, they know where you're from, right? Or they even know what device you're using. So if they know that you're using an iPhone, whatever, like let's just say you're using the latest iteration of the iPhone, that's pretty expensive. In some cases, that's what, $1,500 upwards towards $2,000 a device. So a company will assume that if you're packing some heat like that, then you must have some money. And if you have some money, well, then you can afford to pay a little more for whatever it is that I happen to be selling. And I determine this simply because I can see, or my algorithm can see, that you're using an iPhone to do your shopping. So the incognito feature, using different devices, that's another thing too, right? If they can determine I do all my shopping from an iPhone, then I would recommend that you use your Amazon Fire tablet. Then because the Amazon Fire tablet costs about $130 some versus the iPad, which is hundreds of dollars. and the iPhone, which is many more hundreds of dollars. And so when their algorithm sees that you're coming at them using an Amazon tablet, that's going to factor into their calculation as to how much they're going to offer their product for sale to you at what price point, right? So they're going to assume that you're not as well heeled as the person coming in and doing the shopping on the iPhone. And so you might see a sticker price that's less than the person that's shopping on that iPhone. So you can, another thing you could do is clear all the cookies on your browser, right? Like your search histories and all that kind of stuff. It's not perfect. Cookies are almost ubiquitous. They're, it's almost like everywhere you go, will you accept cookies for a better experience, blah, blah, blah. And often out of convenience, many of us will just click yes, right? And so you do that several times over the course of several years. I should say you do that over the course of several years, many times, and there's going to be an awful lot of electronic data information about you, personal information about you, that companies can use to steal from you, basically. Use a different device. So as I said, like don't exclusively do all your shopping, especially online shopping, using the same device. You can price check. You can do the comparison checking for whatever you're buying. That's always a smart move. Do your shopping. Look around. Look at the price points that other competitor vendors are offering and see if you can't do something there to mitigate or to prevent retailers from pulling the wool over your eyes. So, but again, outside of those things, or even if you do all those things, that's no guarantee that you're not going to be victimized by this practice. So is this legal? Well, technically, yes. It's sort of in a legal gray area, but it's, whether it's legal or not, they're going to do it until somebody stops them, because that's just the way it goes. And I don't mean somebody as in an individual. I mean somebody as in like a body of people. And failing that, if a body of people can put pressure on the government and the government can stop them through regulation and laws, legislation, then that's something that may well have to happen. But it definitely is an unethical practice, at least in my mind. So you're not going to get any points for being a good guy. You can slap your knee and pat yourself on the back and tell yourself what an astute business person you are. But I mean, if we swap out the word business person for thief, go ahead and feel good about yourself, right? I don't steal from people. So, and I just think that's the way it's supposed to be, but anyways, I also don't have a business, so I don't sell things. So I've never had the inclination to try and cheat people on prices. Now, another thing too, and I mentioned this before, the ethics of it, like basically how sleazy can you be? Like if I know you need something and it's important and I have it, and so that tells me that, you know what, I don't have to charge you the regular price that I normally charge for this. I'm going to charge triple or quadruple the price because you're desperate for it. I'm sorry, but that's just not right. Maybe that's, that's the way the corporate world, the capitalist world works, and I get that. And maybe I'm incredibly naive, and I get that too. But, I've read a book or two, so my naivety is sort of leavened with a little bit of intelligence and a little bit of experience and a little bit of that fancy book learning. So, I'm not going to say I'm the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm not the dullest one either. And so I think my moral code is probably superior to that of the retailers that are using this practice to fleece their customers. Another thing too is that, and this is in the States, but also here in Canada, especially here in Canada, there are privacy rules, privacy laws that are there to protect us somewhat from other people trying to come in and breach our security over our personal data. There's also the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, right? And so here you've got companies collecting and making data and making decisions on things like, as I've already mentioned, but also like gender, ethnicity, where you live, like all that kind of stuff. And so if I'm offering different prices, to men or women, if I'm offering different prices to people who answer the question neither or prefer not to say, if I'm offering differing prices to white people versus black people versus brown people versus people of all the different colors and shades and hues of the planet, a case could be made that's a form of discrimination, and certainly the charter can jump in on that. And then there's also consumer protection laws, and we have those in Canada too. And so, what they do is they look for or govern cases where I believe the terminology, the wording is deceptive and unfair trading practices. And so, a government can weigh in and make a positive impact to prevent those deceptive and unfair trading practices. And my goodness, if surveillance pricing doesn't fall into that category, I really don't know what does. Politically, as I said, Avi Lewis has called for the federal government to step in and stop this before it gets out of hand. I've also indicated that Wabkinu in Manitoba has passed legislation to make sure, I don't know if it's legislation or regulation, but there is something on the books there in Manitoba that governs this aspect of surveillance pricing. And so, I understand the basic tenets of supply and demand. If something's in short supply, the price of it usually goes up. And if something is in terrific supply, there's, all sorts of whatever that product is available, then the price of that thing might go down. I mean, like loss leader products in stores, like have been around for all sorts of years, right? Basically, where you bring a whole bunch of stuff in, and because of the bulk volume of it, you can charge less for it, right? And that gets you in the store, and hopefully then you start buying other things. So, but to me, this is just another example of sleazy corporate behavior, and just more proof of their complete lack of any kind of moral or ethical standard when it comes to how they conduct their business vis-a-vis their customers. So, if they can cheat you out of a nickel, they will. And believe me, it's worth it. Some of these big time, big volume retailers, like they sell to thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. Hey, listen, if I cheat you out of a nickel and I cheat a million other people out of a nickel, I'm getting something out of it. That's a lot of nickels. It's going to add up, especially if I do that every hour of the day, every day of the week, every day of the year, every year that I'm in operation. You can see how those nickels add up, right? So to me, it's incredibly sleazy behavior. And I would like to think that if I was in retail, it's not the kind of thing that I would do. It's just plain wrong. But also, an argument could be made that a lot of things that happen in retail are just plain wrong. I'm Steve Jones.